Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm Cici Hanifah from first group from LATD B class, and in this video we will show the material is about language assessment and testing development. Before we start to show the material, let's we introduce our member group. First is Sabrina Qolbiyati, and then I am Cici Hanifah, and the last is Widya Rinanti S P. Okay, in general, our video will explain about assessment and teaching. First is informal and formal assessment, and then formative and summative, and the last is non-reference and criterion reference. Okay, let we start to the first material. The first material is about informal and formal assessment that will explain by Sabrina Qolbiyati.
Informal and formal assessment. Informal assessment is a system for acquiring records that may be used to make judgments approximately a student's development and information. The use of approach aside from standardized formats such as projects, presentations, experiment, demonstrations, or performance portfolios, asking questions during class, or informal observations of interaction. Informal assessments are methods specially designed to foist right into a storehouse of abilities and knowledge and systematic, deliberate sampling strategies built to present instructor and student an appraisal of student achievement. Formal assessment normally approaches the use of a take a look at that entails standardized administration. The benefit: younger students do fine at informal assessments, as they do now no longer have the capacity to take a sit down and take formal assessments. Being capable of examining a student to his or her friends is a bonus of formal assessments. Another gain is that formal assessments are enormous without problems to present, with often simply paper and pencil needed, since each for given the equal manner at every school. Students and teachers can rely upon the reliability of consequences. The difference between formal and informal assessment. Formal assessments are the systematic data primarily based, totally checks that degree work and the way properly the students have discovered. On the other hand, informal assessments are the spontaneous kinds of evaluation which can without problems be integrated in the everyday lecture room, sports, and that degree the students' overall performance and development.
Okay, that's all is the material about informal and formal assessment. And the next chapter is formative and summative assessment. What is formative assessment? Formative assessment is the process of collecting data on the extent to which students' ability to master the competence to interpret the data and decide of effective learning activities for students to master the material or competence optimally. And the purpose of formative assessment is to improve the learning process, to determine the level of ability of students. In addition, to obtain information about the strengths and weakness of the learning that has been done. And the next is summative assessment. What is summative assessment? Yes, summative assessment is an assessment carried out at the end of each of time. And the purpose of this assessment is measuring the ability and understanding of students and as a means of providing feedback to students. Also, to provide feedback to an academic as a measure of learning success, accountability, and monitoring standards of academic staff, and as a means to motivate students. And next slide is the table of difference between formative and summative assessment. First is formative. Formative done during the learning process for certain units or chapters or competencies. And summative done at the end of the particular unit or chapter or competency learning. Second, Formative aims to determine the development of students' mastery of the unit, chapter, competency being studied, and summative aims to find out the learning achievement of students from learning that has ended. And the third is the formative. The results are used as a basis for improving the learning process of the unit or chapter or competency being studied. And summative results are evidence of what is mastered by students. And the last difference between formative and summative assessment is formative assessment are not used in determining the value of the report card, but the summative are used to determine the value of the report card, go to class or stay in class, and pass or fail. So that's all the definition about formative and summative assessment. So the last chapter is norm reference and criterion reference that will explain by Widya Rinanti S P.
Okay, number 3 is norm reference set and criterion reference set. Norm reference set test. A norm reference set test compares a test taker's skill and performance to that of other test taker. A set of test takers could be pitched against another group of test takers. The purpose is the goal of such a test is to rank other test takers along a mathematical continuum. Test takers are usually given a numerical score and a percentile rank when they result a return. The types of norm reference set is intelligence test, achievement test, aptitude test, and personality test. And then criterion reference test. A criterion reference test assesses a test taker's ability to comprehend a specific curriculum. This test is widely used to determine a test taker's level of comprehension before and after an instruction is given. The test is devised by the teacher or instructor in accordance with the curriculum that has been provided. Criterion reference test assess a person's aptitude in relation to a criterion, which is a set of information and skills. The purpose is to rank each student's achievement in broad area of knowledge in comparison to that of others and distinguish between high achiever and low achiever. The types of criterion reference: entry, skills test, pretest, practice and rehearsal test, and post test.
So guys, after we show our material and the conclusion is a version of a teacher's informal assessment is embedded in classroom responsibilities designed to elicit overall performance without recording consequence and making constant judgment approximately a student's competence. Formal assessment normally approach the use of a take a look at that entails standardized administration. Formative assessment is the process of collecting data on the extent to which students' ability to master the competence to interpret the data and decide on effective learning activities for students to master the material or competency optimally. Summative assessment is an assessment carried out at the end of each unit of time. Norm reference is a set of test takers could be pitted against another group of test takers. So guys, that's all our material. I hope you understand that we explain, and if you have a question, please chat on WhatsApp group. And thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.